දවස් 30ක්ම unlimited Netflix බලන්න. Unlimited data pack එකක් මුළු පවුලටම unlimited fun එකක් අරගන්න. අදම active කරගන්න.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, leave them at home. Health officials issue Christmas shopping safety guidelines to parents.
A number of children have got positive, and this is due to parents taking their children shopping. You all are exposing your children unnecessarily for this danger.
Pack your school bags. Education Minister announces schools to reopen for lower grades in January. Out of context. Minister of Mass Media rubbishes netizen outrage over misconstrued social media registration comments. Laying down the law. 1,000 rupee plantation wage hike talks take a heated turn due to company demands.
I get quiet and ice box. You think we're not concerned about the youth workers?
Yeah, but please listen to me.
The companies who can't pay 1,000, there will be a legal framework that will be brought to Parliament.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Monday the 21st of December 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura, then Dikukal pavathina sakura mal suandin.
Try out our new product range, celebrate and feel the difference with Bairaha.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanaka. Let's start you off with your local stories by taking a look at the pandemic situation. Now, health authorities urge parents not to shop with their children during this festive season. Now, Deputy Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemantha Herath, says that there are a high number of children testing positive for COVID-19, and it is alleged that shopping with their parents may have exposed them to the virus. Now, both the government and health authorities continue to call for public cooperation in COVID-19 prevention protocols, and even a set of instructions have been issued for those leaving the Western province during the holiday season.
Sri Lanka's COVID-19 death toll was pushed to 176 yesterday, with the confirmation of 5 new fatalities. Among the 5 victims are 1 woman and 4 men, with the youngest being a 44-year-old man whose cause of death was stated as acute lung infection. The causes of death among the other fatalities include septicemia, COVID pneumonia, cancer and chest infection brought on by COVID-19. In the meantime, with the confirmation of 146 COVID-19 patients today, the island's overall number of active coronavirus cases rose to 8,403. The number of infections confirmed yesterday, however, is 592. Out of that, 562 infections were identified as persons linked to the Palyagoda cluster, while the remaining 38 are prison inmates. From those linked to the Palyagoda cluster, 253 infections were confirmed from the Colombo district. The areas of Boralla, Slave Island, Blumendal, Mattakulya, Grand Pass, Demaragoda, Halvstorp and Cinnamon Garden reported the bulk of the cases from the Colombo district. The Gampa district meanwhile accounted for 124 COVID-19 infections yesterday, recording the second highest number of cases outside the Colombo district. In addition to this, 62 cases were reported from Kandy, 49 from Kaluthura, 16 from Ratnapura, 15 from Hambantota, while 14 infections were confirmed from Trincomalee. 59 further cases meanwhile were recorded across 9 other districts.
We have seen that in many areas the situation is becoming under control, but due to the increased movement of people from different places, small clusters in small numbers still we are observing. However, we believe that these clusters can be controlled. But for this, it is important that every citizen of this country give their fullest support to control this. In this regard, I would urge the public that during this season, the New Year period, please restrict your movements to the minimum and make sure that you are going out only for essential purposes and limit the number of family members accompanying you for shopping and try to make sure that they are safe and they are protected by confining themselves to house without exposing them to outside world in the way that they can get the disease. And we have seen that the number of children have got positive, and it is alleged that this is due to the parents taking their children shopping. It may be true, may not be, but in this way you all are exposing your children unnecessarily for this danger.
In the meantime, the Health Promotion Bureau issued instructions for persons intent on leaving the Western Province on holiday. If such a person shows symptoms suggestive of COVID-19 or have been identified as a first-line contact of a COVID-19 patient and is undergoing home quarantine, the Bureau stated that such persons should seek medical advice and finish home quarantine before venturing outside. When travelling via public transport, it is vital that members of the public carry a bottle of sanitizer, wear their masks properly, avoid idling and touching public surfaces, and getting into crowded buses. They must also remember to maintain a 1 meter distance between persons. Before entering the house, all persons have been advised to wash their hands with soap and water for 20 seconds. Remove the mask with minimal handling and dispose of it unless it is a reusable mask, after which one must wash their hands again. After entering the house, people must ensure that they wash themselves and their clothes with minimal interaction without touching anything else or anyone in the house. All accessories must also be disinfected with sanitizer. In the instructions provided by the Health Promotion Bureau, members of the public are requested to steer clear from social gatherings such as funerals, weddings, etc., while also refraining from any physical interactions when greeting persons. The Bureau reiterated on the importance of following the prescribed health and safety guidelines, which include refraining from touching the face, practicing respiratory etiquette at all times, and to ensuring that their hands are washed and clean.
Safeguard hand sanitizer නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නීරෝගිමත් දිවියකට ලංකාවේ පළමු වරට හඳුන්වා දෙන මැලිබන් වෙජි ක්‍රැකර්
Crunchy veggie.
Foreign Ministry has announced new regulations governing travellers arriving in the country that will come into effect from the 26th of December. The regulations set out mandatory government quarantine centres for Sri Lankan repatriates and paid quarantine at designated hotels for expatriates of Sri Lankan origin and dual citizenship holders.
Sri Lanka's procedures for inbound travellers that have been in place since March this year have been overhauled based on a joint decision of the Foreign Ministry, the Department of Immigration and the Civil Aviation Authority, and the Presidential Task Force for Economic Revival and Poverty Alleviation. The new regulations will come into effect from the 26th of December this year. With that, the government has announced that it will arrange special repatriation flights for travellers using government quarantine facilities in coordination with Sri Lankan missions for overseas students, patients, short-term visa holders, and government and military officials. However, Sri Lankans or foreigners of Sri Lankan origin holding dual citizenship will be allowed to travel on any commercial or non-repatriation flight without the approval of the Foreign Ministry or the Civil Aviation Authority. However, this will be subject to passenger limits on flights determined by the Civil Aviation Authority based on concurrence and consultation of the National Operations Centre, subject to compliance with paid quarantining at a designated hotel. The notice issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that it will also be the sole responsibility of the airlines to ensure that the passengers permitted on board under the new arrangement strictly adhere to the paid quarantine. Further, it added that the procedures for inbound travellers will be subjected to review based on further assessments made on the new guidelines.
The junior grades are set to resume schooling next year. Now, the government announced today that academic activities of grades 1 to 5 will restart on the 11th of January. This, however, will only apply for schools outside isolated areas and the Western Province. Minister of Education Professor G.L. Piris, however, reassured that the pandemic situation in the Western Province and locked down areas will be monitored periodically, so the schools in those areas too can be reopened as soon as possible.
තීරණ සියල්ලක්ම අපි ගන්නේ සෞඛ්‍ය බලධාරීන්ගේ හා විශේෂඥයන්ගේ උපදෙස් වලට යටත්ව. ඒ අනුව අපේ තීරණය බස්නාහිර පළාතේ පාසල් දැනට විවෘත නොකළ යුතුයි කියලා. ඒ වගේම දිවයිනේ සෙසු ප්‍රදේශවල උදකලා කරලා තිබෙන පොලිස් වසම් තුල පිහිටලා තිබෙන පාසලුත් විවෘත කිරීම යෝග්‍ය ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් හැටියට අපි දකින්නේ නැහැ. මේ තත්වය දවස් 10කට වරක් සමාලෝචනය කරලා සෞඛ්‍ය තත්වයේ අනුව හැකිතාක් ඉක්මනින් ඒ ප්‍රදේශවල පිහිටලා තිබෙන පාසලුත් විවෘත කිරීමට අපි දැඩි උත්සාහයක් කරනවා. සෙසු ප්‍රදේශවල 1 සිට 5 ශ්‍රේණිය දක්වා තිබෙන අන්ති 2021 ජනවාරි 11 වන සඳුදා විවෘත කිරීමට. බස්නාහිර පළාත හා හුදකලා කරලා තිබෙන පොලිස් වසම් තුළ පිහිටලා තිබෙන පාසල් හැරෙන්න අනෙක් ප්‍රදේශවල පෙර පාසල් ජනවාරි 11 වන සඳුදා විවෘත කරන්නට අපි තීරණය කරලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ තීරණය ඒ විදිහටම ඒ සීමාවලට යටත්ව දිවා සුරැකුම් මධ්‍යස්ථානවලට අදාළ වෙනවා. අපි තීරණය කරලා තිබෙනවා දින කිහිපයක් උපකාරක පන්ති ආරම්භ කිරීම කල් දැමීමට. ඒකට ප්‍රධාන හේතුව වෙලා තියෙන්නේ සමාජ දුරස්ථභාවය. දැනට පාසල්වල ආපන ශාලා විවෘත කිරීමට අදහසක් නැහැ. හැබැයි නේවාසිකාගාර සමාජ දුරස්ථභාවයට යටත්ව විවෘත කිරීමට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
However, the Ceylon Teachers Association is unhappy with the government's decision to open schools for grade 1 to 5 as well, accusing it of lacking a proper plan.
Minister of Mass Media Kehelia Rambukwala denies news doing the rounds in social media, alleging plans by the government to register social media and digital platform users. The rumours erupted following comments made by the Minister on regulation of foreign digital operators, which he stated has been misconstrued and the true meaning not conveyed.
Following an uproar on social media over a statement made by Minister of Mass Media Kehelia Rambukwala regarding alleged registering of Sri Lankan social media users recently, the minister has issued a clarification on the issue, stating that his comments had been misconstrued. The minister's statement reassured the country's social media denizens that the government has no intention of resorting to any registration of social media and digital platform users. The minister also clarified that the government's intention was to convey a mounting concern shared by governments across the world that digital multinational conglomerates are overwhelming and alienating Sri Lanka's local businesses using data colonization. He added that such activities have a direct impact on Sri Lanka's medium-scale companies, with such views shared by leading industrialists in Sri Lanka. The minister also stated that such predatory techniques have led to large sums of money leaving the country through these digital platforms. Therefore, he revealed that the government has been considering registering foreign digital operators and not social media and digital platform users.
Now, during talks on the 1,000 rupee wage hike for plantation workers held today, Minister of Labour Nimal Siripal de Silva informed plantation representatives that legal framework will be brought through Parliament to deal with companies that do not pay up. At the meeting, a heated and tense situation arose after several proposals presented by the plantation owners were objected to by factions aligned with the plantation workers.
While announcing the budget proposals for the year 2021, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa on the 17th of November said that the daily wage of estate workers will be increased to 1,000 rupees from the 1st of January next year. Today, a meeting was held at the Ministry of Labour Reforms to discuss the matter under the patronage of the subject minister Nimal Siripal de Silva. The meeting was also attended by State Minister of Estate Housing and Community Infrastructure Jeevan Thondaman, SGB parliamentarian Vadivel Suresh, plantation owners, representatives of the estate management and estate trade union leaders. The meeting was also attended by State Minister of Estate Housing and Community Infrastructure Jeevan Thondaman, SGB parliamentarian Vadivel Suresh and plantation owners. During the meeting, the plantation owners proposed that the workers pluck an additional 2 kilograms of tea leaves per day. Further, they also suggested that 180 days work per year be made mandatory for estate workers. With the plantation owners' proposals being objected by some parties present, a tense situation erupted during the talks.
No. Wait. I kept quiet and I spoke. You think we're not concerned about the youth workers?
Yeah, but I can bring. Please listen to me.
However, considering the facts presented by both parties, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva explained what the future course of action should be.
The companies which can pay 1,000 rupees, they will go on, but who can't pay 1,000 and running at a loss, there will be a legal framework that will be brought to Parliament, either to take over the estate or restructure it and give it to a private sector, other persons who are willing to take over these estates and go for investment, etc. So that is what has been spelled out in the budget. So that is a policy the government has spelled out in the budget proposals. I always believe the better process is to go for the collective agreement rather than enforcing a salary structure because our situation varies from one state to another.
In the meantime, the Minister of Labour also had this to say during a media briefing after the meeting.
මේ නිෂ්පාදනය පිළිබඳව ඇති කරනු ලබන නිර්ණායකය පිළිබඳව ගැටලුවකුත් රුපියල් 80ක වැටුප්ප වැඩි කිරීම පිළිබඳ තියෙන වෙනස පිළිබඳ ගැටලුව කියන මේ කාරණා දෙක පිළිබඳව තවදුරටත් හාම්පුතුන්ගේ සම්මේලනයේ ඔවුන්ගේ සමාජිකයන් සමග සාකච්ඡා කොට නැවත දැනුම් දීමට අවස්ථාවක් ඉල්ලා සිටියා. ඒ අනුව මෙම සාකච්ඡාව අපි මේ මාසේ 31 වෙනිදා දක්වා කල් දාලා තියෙනවා.
හම්බුත්තලගේ සාධනීය පැත්තක් තියෙනවද රජයේ යෝජනාවට?
මේ වැටුප ගෙවීම පිළිබඳව ඔවුන් යම් යම් කොන්දේසි ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කොන්දේසි වල සමහර කොන්දේසි වලට වෘත්තීය සමිතිය එකඟ නැහැ. ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ තවදුරටත් විසඳිය යුතු තිබෙනවා.
In the meantime, State Minister of Estate Housing and Community Infrastructure, Jeevan Thondaman, says that today's discussion yielded a more positive outcome.
We feel that the wage discussion today was very productive and very positive because we feel, as opposed to the previous discussions, now we've come to a more positive outcome. Honourable Minister Nimal Shripala, I must thank him because he has made it very clear to the companies as well. This 1,000 rupees is non-negotiable, as it was not only the hope of the estate workers, it was not only the hope of the late Arumugam Thondaman, it was also the promise given by the Prime Minister and the President.
Another day they discuss again.
We have another 1 week deadline for the companies, I believe on 31st. On the 31st of this month, we have a deadline. By the 31st, the companies have to come out with a formulation on how they're going to give the 1,000.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, following accusations made against the Attorney General's coordinating officer, State Counsel Nishara Jayaratna, by the attorney representing Deputy Solicitor General Azad Nawawi last week, the State Counsel gave her testimony today before the Presidential Commission probing the Easter Sunday terror attacks. After facts were presented to the Commission by the legal representatives of both parties, the Commission, however, ruled that instituting legal action against the witness for the allegations cannot be justified.
The Attorney General's Coordinating Officer, State Counsel Nishara Jayaratna, appeared before the Presidential Commission investigating the Easter attacks on the 17th of this month to record her testimony with regards to a statement made by Venerable Mangalkande Sudata Thera on July 10, 2019. During her testimony on the 17th, the State Counsel was accused of insulting the Commission by Attorney for Deputy Solicitor General Azad Nawawi, President's Counsel Shavindra Fernando. Following this, State Counsel Jayaratna requested to be allowed to continue her testimony at a later date with adequate legal representation following the accusations. Subsequently, the Commission requested the State Counsel to appear before it today. With that, State Counsel Jayaratna appeared before the Commission today in the company of a legal team instructed by Senior Deputy Solicitor General Vikumdi Abru, who addressed the Commission via video conference. As the proceedings commenced, Senior Deputy Solicitor General Vikumdi Abru asked the Commission if the accusations against his client by President's Counsel Shavindra Fernando were to be sustained by the Commission. Responding to the query, President's Counsel Shavindra Fernando stated, "During her previous testimony, the witness evaded my questions and proceeded to counter-question me. My reason for requesting the Commission to consider the witness as having insulted the Commission was due to her refusal to provide answers. Hence, I have no intention of withdrawing my request. Depending on how the witness answers my questions today, I shall decide on whether I withdraw it or not." Thereafter, during today's proceedings, President's Counsel Shavindra Fernando on several occasions expressed his dissatisfaction over the manner in which State Counsel Jayaratna responded to his questions. At the end of the State Counsel's testimony today, when asked whether the request would be withdrawn by Senior State Counsel Vikumdi Abru, President's Counsel Shavindra Fernando replied, "I do not intend to withdraw my request and will instead leave it up to the Commission to decide on the matter." Before delivering its decision, the Commission's chairman asked the witness if she would like to make a statement. To this, the witness stated, "I did not insult the Commission in any way. At times I was subjected to aggressive and intimidating questions. I was even asked if I lacked common sense and the ability to read as well. I should be looked upon as a witness and not an attorney. It's not fair to embarrass a public official who carries out her duties efficiently. I urge you to not allow my name to be tarnished by such accusations. I am about to face much inconvenience due to the statements made on behalf of the Attorney General. Hence, I apologize to the Chairman and the Commission members for any unintentional offence. Following this, in announcing his decision, the Chairman of the Commission stated, "What I am expressing here is a minority decision. This is my personal opinion." When the witness's lawyer was given an opportunity before the verdict, he expressed his regrets. However, up to that point, the witness did not. We summoned the witness today in the hope of such an apology. However, until the last moment, the witness did not express her regrets to the President's Council or the Commission. The eyes of justice are bound in order to ensure equality for all. Therefore, in my opinion, facts must be presented to the Court of Appeal on the witness as having acted in defiance of repeated admonitions of the Commission. Following this statement, the Court of Appeal judge on the Commission then expressed the majority opinion of the Commission. The witness responded to all questions. She did not remain silent. I have had a career spanning 32 years. It cannot be concluded that the witness insulted the Commission due to her extended answers. Based on these facts, the Commission has decided that it is not justifiable to take legal action against the witness for insulting the Commission.
Now, the Solos Masthana, which encompasses 16 religious sites of Buddhist devotees, was declared a sacred site with the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Solos Mahathanna, including the ancient temple Gal Vihara, was declared as a sacred site last evening by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at the temple premises. Accordingly, the relevant epistle was handed over to the Deputy Chief Prelate of the Asgiriya chapter, Venerable Vendaruwe Upalitera, by the Prime Minister.
මේ ස්ථානවල ශාසනික උරුමය, ශාසනික බලය රජයට වගේම භික්ෂුන් වහන්සේලාටද තිබීම තුලයි අපේ උරුමය රැකගත හැකි වන්නේ. එසේ නොමැතිව මෙය පුරාවිද්‍යා බිමකි ඇතුල්වීම තහනම් කියා දැන්වීම ප්‍රදර්ශනය කිරීම පමණකින් අපේ සංස්කෘතිය රැකෙන්නේ නැති බව හොඳාකාරව තේරුම්ගත් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා මේ වෙනස ඇති කිරීමේ පුරෝගාමී වුණු බව මම පුණ්‍යානුමෝදනා පූර්වකව සිහිපත් කරන්න ඕන.
In the meantime, the Premier engaged in religious observances at the sacred Jai Shri Mahabodhi this morning. He also called on the chief incumbent of the Atamasthana, Venerable Pallegama Sri Nivasathera. Prime Minister Rajapaksa then inaugurated the renovated internal road network of Jetavanaramaya. The renovation work of the road network is an investment of 82 million rupees. Further, the Prime Minister also declared open the Jetavana Museum, which was built with funding from the Central Cultural Fund. The Premier then planted a sapling at the museum premises. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister also inaugurated the Sila Mata Training Institute at the new Sangamita Ramaya in Anuradhapura this morning.
In the meantime, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa today met with Muslim devotees in the mosque or at a mosque in the Gurutalawa region, where the question of Muslim COVID-19 burials was discussed. The opposition leader expressed his support for the permitting of burials, stating that according to his knowledge, there remains no health and safety issue.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa called at the Jumma Masjid in Gurutalawa this morning and had a discussion with the devotees present at the premises.
ආදාහන කටයුතු භූමි දාහනයේ කටයුතු කියන මාතෘකාව තුළ අපේ රටේ මුස්ලිම් ජනතාව අන්ත අසරණ භාවයට පත් වෙලා සිටිනවා. සමගි ජන බලවේගය අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා. ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානයේ නිර්දේශ තරයේ ක්‍රියාත්මක කළ යුතුයි. ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානය බොහොම පැහැදිලිව ප්‍රකාශ කරලා තිබෙනවා භූමි දාහනය පිළිබඳව සෞඛ්‍ය ගැටලුවක් නැtei කියන කාරණා. අනිත් හැමෝටම ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානයේ ගයිඩ්ලයින්ස් අනුගමනය කරනවා. හැබැයි ආදාහන භූමි දාන ප්‍රශ්නේදී රජය අමුතුම මාදිලියේ විශේෂඥ දැනුමක් ලබාගෙන ඒ අය කියනවා පුච්චන්නම උනේ. මම පැහැදිලිව කියන්න කැමතියි සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ අපි සියලු දෙනා ඒ පහත් තීන්දුව තරේ ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරනවා කියන එක පැහැදිලි ප්‍රකාශ.
We'll see you shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Sri Lankan shares ended up today following a 7-week rally, with the benchmark all-share price index closing 0.1% higher at 6,622.71. Meanwhile, the S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks gained at 12.12 points to close at 2,585.07. With that, here's Achyutan Srirangan with today's market report, followed by a currency update.
Market continued on the roller coaster ride and reverting back to the positive direction and going to the week started with a positive green start. Index spiked in the first few minutes of the market trading today and hereafter experienced volatile movement and the mid of the day, and later the market plunged and witnessed a downtrend and it came to the 6,623 and closing a gain of 6 points. We saw a foreign inflow after the 4 weeks of the market session with a minimal low participation.
Now, with the season of Christmas just around the corner, the world celebrates this time around under intense health and safety restrictions due to COVID-19 global pandemic. With this being the case, before we wrap things up tonight at First at 9, we bring you our special segment, The Message of Hope.
Dear friends, during this Christmas, we are asked to keep a 1 meter distance away from each other. And we will also not be allowed to gather together as large crowds of people. And I've heard some people saying, so how can we celebrate Christmas with all these coronavirus restrictions? Good question. But let me share with you the fact that when Jesus was born, he was born into a world where there were a lot of restrictions. The first and foremost restriction was that the sinful man could not come anywhere near God. There was a big gap. And also, people who were affected with various diseases like leprosy were not allowed to come anywhere near the presence of God. That was a very sad situation. But when Jesus was born and during his earthly life and ministry, we discover that this gap and the distance between God and man was completely taken away. With his death on the cross, the curtain that separated man from God was completely removed. And even people who had leprosy and various other diseases were able to come near to Jesus because Jesus was willing to reach out to them and touch them. So my friends, Christmas is a time where we can lead ourselves into a very meaningful experience this year, because for God there is no distance between him and you and me. He has drawn us into his love through Jesus Christ. So may you have a wonderful and a peaceful Christmas, experiencing the great love of God in Christ Jesus. God bless you.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.